What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mix Academy. I'm David Glenn of themixacademy.com. Today, we're going to talk about how to prevent harsh mixes. So I was recently talking with my assistant, Tiki, and he asked me, how do you get right mixes without them sounding harsh? And my immediate answer was to tell him about managing 3 to 5K. Now, it could be a little bit below 3K, a little bit above 5K, could be other frequencies in the top end, but a good rule of thumb for me, and subconsciously I do this all the time, I may have 10, 20 different cuts around that 3 to 5K range when I'm boosting top end. It just depends on the track, it depends on the song, and definitely always make these moves in context of the whole mix. But managing 3 to 5K is one of those tips that you don't hear too often, and it's essential in my book for getting a nice mix. Now, it also doesn't mean you can't boost in this range. It just means be careful and keep an eye out. I'm going to show you real quick on a piano. I've got a track here, and I'm going to keep it in solo. I'm going to break my own rule here. Let's say we have this piano, and we know we want more top end. We need it to cut. We'll go for that Elton John thing, maybe even a little CLA. We're just going to crank some top end here. So that may sound good, all right? But I think we need a lot more top end, especially when we put this in context of the track. It's going to need to cut even more than that. So let's just crank this thing. Okay, it's brighter. It's going to cut better. But now to me, that's harsh. So what I would do, and I probably would have used the Pro Q to begin with anyways, is I would make some cuts in that 3 to 5K range. So let's set this up. I'll try to do this tutorial a few times, so we'll try to get it right this one. So already softer. Yeah, those two frequencies really are the only two that are really bothering me. Now, how much softer is that? Let's hear it without it, and then I'll engage it. And let's bypass all the processing. So now we're brighter, and it's not harsh. It's not penetrating our eardrums here. So that was my first thought. Shared that with him, and now I've shared it with you. But I also want to talk about a couple of other things. If you can't hear things accurately, you're not going to be able to make good decisions. And one of the tools that I use day in, day out, swear by, since my man Joey Fernandez told me about it years ago, is SonarWorks. Most of you have probably heard of it, but if you have not, I'll put a link in the description below. Not sponsored, no affiliate link, just a direct link to their website. Go check them out. Maybe I'll elaborate on what it does in another video. But for now, we're going to move on and talk about mixing at a lower volume. If your ears get tired, you're not going to hear things accurately either. And so it's easy to kind of push up the top end thinking that you need it when in fact your ears are just shot, and that's a no-go. I do mix loud when I work on my drums, kick and bass a lot, but then almost always the rest of the time, it's at a pretty moderate volume, even crazy low sometimes. Kind of hear the things popping out, want to see what's going on, and that's a great way to prolong your mixing sessions, is to make sure you're mixing at a low volume. In addition to those, controlling sibilance is huge. You could have a completely just a rockin' mix, nothing's harsh, nothing's, piercing eardrums, and then a singer comes along and the S's or the whatever is cutting through the mix and taking your listeners' ears off. What I like to do is I like to go find a section and highlight where an S is a problem and loop it. And then once I've looped it, I pull that de-esser up, I'll set it. I often use a de-esser at the beginning of my chain. I also will EQ into a compressor so that if I'm boosting top end, the compressor is going to react to that extra energy up top. And then also at the end of the chain, if I still have S's that are just giving me trouble, I may throw another de-esser on the back end or go to clip gain and pull down those S's independently with clip gain. All right, next up, we're going to talk about referencing. Now, I don't just mean pulling in any song, clicking through and listening to the reference and then going back to your mix. That's just not going to do it for you. What you need to do is follow a set of rules or kind of a checklist for referencing. To begin with, if you think about most references, they're going to be industry mixes. Those mixes have been mastered. They're released. They're out there. They're going to have loudness to them, right? I mix through a series of processing for loudness, parallel compression. I mix into some clipping and then into my final limiter. I engage those probably right after the rough mix, maybe just after I've got things feeling pretty good, starting to bob my head a little bit. I'll get those engaged, and I'm then mixing through them for the remainder of the process. If you do not want to, or you don't like to mix through any kind of loudness processing, at the very least, I would say slap on a little clipping and slap on some limiting so that you can compare apples to apples when you pull open your reference. I use Adapters AB. I've also got, Plugin Alliance adapter, AB, whatever, referencing plugin. But I also rock the Mastering the Mix reference quite often. Love that one as well. Any plugin that's going to give you level match, which is our next tip for referencing, make sure you level match. I've got this particular mix pretty high. I think it's like -8, -9, but for whatever reason, the track I'm referencing is even hotter than that. And so you want to be sure you level match. I've done that. You can see it brought down my mix by another 3 dB. Another thing is, don't reference the chorus at the verse of a reference track. So I'll go and I'll find the chorus, playback mode 1, and then I'll hit loop. It'll create a loop nice and tight usually. When you first turn it on, it'll be like right here, so you got to drag it out. So I selected the chorus, and now I can go in and loop that. Well, it doesn't stop there. Referencing is going to go a little bit further. What I like to do in Pro Tools, you've got this red icon here, the little indicator. Turn that off and slide your referencing either to another screen or just to the top of the screen like that. And then I pull open an EQ. And you can see I've already got it set. I've taught this and I preach it all the time in almost every course I release. And I'm sure I've covered it here on the channel before too. The low end trick, I like to take a high cut and go down here, 30, 40 hertz, listen to the reference, listen to my track, go back and forth. What's going on? Do I feel my kick pulsing the way theirs is? Is my bass sustaining the way theirs is? Do I like it, or is it comparable? Whatever. A couple things to keep in mind with low end, off topic, would be make sure you're in a similar key to the reference and a similar genre, energy, vibe, so that if you've got a pop rock track, you're not comparing with a hip hop track where the kick is hitting hard down in 40 or 50 hertz, 60 hertz, and yours is living in that 70 to 100 hertz range. You're not going to be able to compare apples to apples when doing that. So pick a good reference, level match, and then instead of low end, right now we're talking about preventing harsh mixes. So we're going to get rid of that high cut, and we're going to put a low cut, high pass. I set the dB per octave slope pretty high to make sure that I'm only getting what I want. I want to focus in on the top end, the upper mids. And so here, setting it around 1K or so, I'm going to listen to the reference. Now we had some cymbals come in there. We got that vocal going. We can really focus in on what's happening in the top end. So I'm going to hit play one more time. We'll listen to that. And then I'll click over to my mix, put myself on the spot here, and see what's going on with mine. Now, I forgot, I muted a bunch of tracks, made them inactive for the sake of the tutorial. For soloing that, I had some frozen tracks. So it's not going to be a great comparison here, but at the very least, you can hear there's nothing in my cymbals that are piercing. The vocal wasn't there, so we can't hear it. But it's going to be a good way to listen and make sure you're referencing, especially when you don't have something like SonarWorks to help you out. It's going to be a good trick to compare apples to apples. And you can go and tame those cymbals, pull a little 3 to 5K, maybe find where they're whistling a little bit at you and pull them out. Soothe is all the rage right now, the Ook sound or Ook sound, Soothe 2, and I use that. I've got a few instances of that in this mix, and all great ways to prevent a harsh mix. Check my notes here. So lastly, I had on EQ match. Now, I use EQ match as sort of a crutch. Hey, look, I only had one instance of it in this mix. My subscribers will know that sometimes I'll have a couple of them, maybe 3 or 4 sometimes. But so anyways, so referencing, I'm still rocking Ozone, 7. You have your referencing plugin up, you hit capture, you hit play, let your reference play out. It could be for the whole song, it could be just the chorus, whatever you want to kind of take a look at. And it's going to capture the frequency kind of fingerprint, so to speak, so that you can kind of see what's going on with the reference. And then you do the same thing, you click back over, you listen to your mix, hit capture, and it's going to take a snapshot of yours. And then now you get this matched curve. And so you can see the blend to make my mix more like that mix. Again, low end is huge here. You don't want to, if your kick is living in that 100 hertz range, but the reference is in 40 or 50, it's going to think you need more low end down there when in fact you may not. So definitely want to make sure, again, apples to apples. But then you got this nice curve here and you can see what's going on. So you can choose to rock a whole lot of this matched curve, just a little bit. I typically get pretty close and I'm only using a little bit. It's kind of, like I said, a crutch at the end of a mix. But that is my final tip for now. If you guys want me to expand on any of these, leave me a comment down below. Don't forget, you've got free multi-tracks. I think we've got 30 plus now. Free multi-tracks. They are resume friendly. You can download them, mix them, throw them up on your website, promote your services. Go to themixacademy.com. I look forward to seeing you in many more tutorials to come. Catch you soon.